Welcome in. Welcome in to the best in sports talk content. This is Clearing the Air with Kevin Calere. I am your host, the one, the only Kevin Calere. Like I said, this is the best in sports talk content, so you guys make sure that you treat it as such. Go rate, review, like, subscribe. 5 stars. There's no need to give anything less than 5 stars. So go ahead and hit the 5 stars. Go ahead. Why not? It doesn't hurt nobody. And if you don't think it's 5 stars, give 5 stars anyway. But go follow, go subscribe wherever you get your podcasts to make sure that you're getting notified when we drop episodes. It is a weird time of year, so the normal Tuesday, Friday drop schedule isn't necessarily always happening. We're going to try to drop on Sundays while there's no football. So on some Sundays to give you something that you can, bite into either at the end of your weekend or on your way to kind of dive into the week. And then hopefully we can get the interviews. We've got a few coming up that I've got on the calendar so we can drop some interviews, during the weeks. So that's kind of really what the plan is on that. So make sure that you guys subscribe so that you're getting like the latest and greatest stuff and you're not behind. Also, if you are a YouTube watcher or YouTube listener, YouTube watcher listener, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Clearing the Air with Kevin Calere. You can hit the bell to be notified as well. But if not, just subscribe so that when you hop on YouTube and you go to your subscriptions, you can see any new stuff. YouTube's got a little bit more going on. We do if you can't listen to the whole pod, but you want to listen to a specific segment, specific thing we talked about, you can go on the YouTube where it's actually split as well as the full episode. And then of course we've got other little short videos and things like that on YouTube. So make sure that you guys are using both of those resources. You can, hit us on Twitter if you want to check us out on Twitter and you want to see what we got going on. Me at the real Kev _0. That's me specifically. At Clear the Air _pod is the podcast. And if you want to hit me on Instagram as well, at the real Kev. At the real _Kev 0. Kevo is is kind of the nickname there. So that's where you can find us. If you want to contact, reach out. Why don't you ever hit this? Why don't you ever hit that? Whatever it is, it's all about community. So definitely check that out. I also want to take this time to say Happy Mother's Day. Right? I am dropping this on Mother's Day. Funny enough, my mom's birthday is May 9th, meaning that every 7 years, Mother's Day falls on her birthday. And my mother is one of those people who are like, hey, Kevin, you grew up. I made sure you didn't want for nothing. And I made sure that when you asked for certain gifts for Christmas, I got them for you, if she could, of course. So it is my duty to make sure that if my mom says, hey, I could really use a new set of headphones, right? Or, hey, I think we did this one thing where 3 times a year, right? So Mother's Day, her birthday, and Christmas, I was getting her a new a pot or a pan from this specific brand in which that, after a couple years, she had the full set. As opposed to, spending all the money on the full set at once, I was able to break it up because there's 3 times a year in which I'm getting her some gifts just as my appreciation. And to be quite honest with you, man, there's not a lot. I can't do enough. I can't give enough gifts to my mom to appreciate or to show my appreciation for her. So make sure you guys, if you haven't already, call your mom, tell her Happy Mother's Day. My mom, like I said, had a birthday. We did dinner for her on Thursday. Then we went to another dinner again on Friday with her and my grandmother as well. So just make sure you're doing that, man. Life is not, man, things aren't promised. Things aren't promised, man. And so, any given moment you could find yourself without your mother. In high school, I had a really, really good friend, and his name was PJ. His mom died our senior year of high school. And, when you're in high school, you don't really fathom the severity of death, the finality of death until it hits you kind of close to home. And while it wasn't my family, It was even weird for me when I went over to PJ's on a Saturday, on a Sunday or whatever. We were just hanging out and his mom not being there. Right. So, and I know every Mother's Day, I know he wishes he could speak to her just one more time. So, and you just can't take those moments for granted. Speaking of which, with parents, I want to take a second to shout out a friend of the pod, Kevin Myrick, Pastor Kevin Kev. He's been on this pod. Good friend of mine. He lost his dad this morning. I don't want to put too much of his business out there, but I just want you guys to keep him in your prayers. If you are religious, please keep him in your prayers. If you are not religious, please just keep him in your thoughts and wish him good fortune. It's tough. It's a tough time for him. So I just want, Kevin, I want you to know that you are in my thoughts, in my prayers. You are in the Clearing the Air community's thoughts and prayers. And I know you're strong, and I know you're gonna power through. So love you, brother. And if you need anything, as you know, and I mean, we've talked, it's not like this is the only place I'm saying this. We spoke earlier today as well, but just wanted to make sure I put it out there so that others could pray for Kevin as well. So now let's transition to the sports. Okay, after we've gotten all that housekeeping stuff out the way, a lot's been going on. As we all know, there was beef. There was Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef. There has been now Rick Ross and Game beef, right? And we also got some Shannon Sharpe and Shaquille O'Neal beef. I'm not going to get into it, but hey, Cat Williams set us up in 2024. He said it on Shannon Sharpe's podcast, and it's been up. So Shannon Sharpe and Shaq got beef. I'm not covering it because it's not my style. So if you want to check that out, go check that out. You just find it all over Twitter or X or wherever you get your stuff from. And then also beef. It looks like the Dion Hive has some beef with me. Y'all are very, very defensive over Deion Sanders. Based on my comments last pod. I won't necessarily repeat the comments last pod, but basically my whole premise was that stuff that went on Twitter was unnecessary, and I don't think it did anybody any favors. And apparently I didn't like that. So, yeah, I mean, that's about it. I've never really been one to come up here and be ready to fight and go to war over somebody I don't know, whether I'm defending them or not. But clearly y'all felt offended. I don't want no smoke, Dion Hive. It's simply an opinion. You are allowed to have your opinion. I am allowed to have mine. Not going to touch it again. So, what's the biggest news that came out? Well, the MVP voting is done. We talked a couple weeks ago about who we thought should be MVP. I mentioned Tatum. I mentioned Luka. I mentioned Joker, of course, Shy, because it seemed like Joker was the consensus. And one of the things that, if you really want to get an understanding for who the MVP is going to be ahead of time, you really do just have to listen to the media. And that's because they're the ones that do the voting, right? And so it's kind of like, oh, duh. Like the people who you hear talking all the time, who constantly say Luka's the MVP, those are the guys, those are the people who have the MVP votes. So obviously, Jokic was gonna win, and he did, and he won in pretty convincing fashion. I want to see if I can find the voting. Okay, here it is. Yep. So the standings went this way. So it was Luka 1, Shai 2, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from the Thunder. He got second place. Luka Doncic got third place. Giannis got fourth. Jalen Brunson got fifth. And then Tatum was 6. Jason Tatum was 6. Anthony Edwards was 7. Domantas Sabonis actually finished 8th. And then Kevin Durant finished 9th. So the way that the voting system works, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So everybody votes on, okay, who do you have at first, second, third, fourth, and fifth place for the MVP? And each place, I think fifth place is worth 1 point, fourth is worth 3 points. And then second and third and first are worth a certain amount of points. And then just basically Whatever people write down, then it tallies up the points, and whoever has the most points, that's kind of how it goes. So Jokic got 79 first place votes. Shai got 15. Luka got 4, and Giannis got 1. So think about it. There's only 99. Looks like there's only 99 votes. Let me see. 79. So 79 plus 1 is 80. Plus 15 is 95. Yeah, so there's 90. That's odd that it's exactly 99. There's only 99 votes. Luka got 79 of them. That right there is going to push him over the top because first place is worth so much more than everything else. I don't see here where it tells me exactly how much like the first place is versus the rest, but that's okay. So he got 79, Shai got 15, Luka 4, Giannis 1, and then in the second place votes, basically anybody who didn't vote for him, he got 18 second place votes, and he got 2/3, but which equals 99 as well. Shai got 40 second place votes, and Luka got 36. So really, and then the third place votes, Shai got 40 third place votes, and Luka got 50. So they were probably the closest set. There was first, second, and third were super close, and then everybody below that was just way below that. So what the media basically told you was Brunson had a great season, but he's not our MVP. Tatum had a great season, but it's more of a team thing with him. Same thing with Ant. And then Sabonis and Kevin Durant had great seasons just all to the side, but just got overshadowed by other stuff. For instance, Sabonis is in Sacramento and Kevin Durant's in Phoenix. So and Phoenix kind of underachieved for what was expected once they made the Bradley Beal trade. Granted, I didn't expect what people were expecting, but you get my point. Anyway, so it looks like because Luka got 10 more third place votes and 5 more fourth place votes than Shai did. Shai got 4 more second place votes, but it really was that first place differential, probably because Shai, the Thunder ended up being the 1 seed in the West. So he got the 15 first place votes to Luka's 4, which is probably what got him the nod for second place in the MVP voting. And then, of course, like we said, Giannis got 44 fourth place votes, which was the most. And it's interesting because this season has been weird. We haven't been paying a lot of attention to Giannis because I don't know why, but you go look at the numbers and it's like, yep, Giannis is still Giannis. I'm not necessarily angry with this. I know that, I was kind of talking before, and like I said, I was just, trying to bring up the conversation. Okay, yeah, why is it automatically Jokic, blah, blah, blah. I'm not mad at Jokic first, Shai second, Luka third. I'm not even really mad at Giannis fourth, Brunson fifth. I do love that Brunson did get fifth because I do feel like the adage around small point guards is simply that they are too small to lead a team, but you can only go but so far. But really the question is like, how far is but so far, right? Like you can say, well, you can't win a championship with them. Okay, well, yeah, 29 of the 30 teams don't win a championship every year, so that's not really fair. Like I've never liked when like sports media people come out and say, like one of the things I love, one of my favorite guys is Nick Wright, but one of the things I can't stand is like Nick Wright will say, oh, the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. They got Patrick Mahomes. Oh, the LeBron is the Lakers are going to win this playoff series. Like attaching your take just to the best player on the court is going to make you right 7 out of 10 times. Right. So like I don't think that that's super. Now to his credit, he uses more than just being the best player on the court or on the field and all that stuff. So I don't want to like, this isn't no shade because I actually am a huge fan. But my point is, if I were just to say, well, I think that the Mavericks are going to win the series against whoever because they've got the best player, like I'd be right more times than I'd be wrong. So it's I don't even really remember where I was going with that. Dang, I don't remember where I was going with that. But anyway, So yeah. Oh, right. Because we were talking about how you can't lead people so far. Like, yeah, if I say, oh, the Knicks aren't going to win because I can say the Knicks aren't going to win, and when they don't win, I can say I knew it because their point guard is small. That doesn't necessarily mean I was exactly right in that scenario. That was just it. Just so happens the Knicks didn't win, and it just so happens their point guard is small. So I do love that he got some credit at 5. I figured Tatum. I guess if I was looking at this, if I had to, because I don't have a vote and I didn't watch enough throughout the season. I don't watch enough NBA throughout the season to really know what's going on like that. If I had, I would have guessed it would have been those 3, Jokic, Shai, and Luka in whatever order. And then I probably would have guessed Tatum would have been 4. Like basically Tatum and Giannis would have switched. Tatum would have been 4, Brunson 5, Giannis 6. But again, I didn't watch enough. But just the Celtics' ability to sustain the hot start and just keep it going all year, I would have thought that Tatum would have been higher. But again, that's just what I would have thought. I didn't watch enough, so I'm not mad at this. I'm not mad at this top 9. You said Kevin Durant at 9 was interesting. It's interesting to see KD there and not necessarily see LeBron or Anthony Davis. And actually, I'm gonna make a separate shorter thing because I've already gone a little long with this. A separate sort of thing with like all of the awards. We'll go over MVP. We'll go over 6th Man of the Year. We'll go over Defensive Player of the Year because I know that stuff left a lot of whatever. But the biggest takeaway that I got this year from the MVP voting was there wasn't really a good, like a true storyline to run off of. And what I mean by that is if you look at all the past MVPs, there's always something more than just the stats. This year was solely just, as the league is now kind of balancing back out from the super team era where the cap is really only allowing you like 2 max stars, no matter what your market is, and then you kind of got to build your roster that way. At least that's the best way to do it. If you try to be Phoenix and try to go with 3 max stars, you have no roster, then you fire your coach, even though you had no roster, but I digress. So because of that, the storyline stuff doesn't matter anymore. So let's look at the last 11 years. Okay. So Embiid won this year, right? There is no real storyline to kind of like be like, oh man. And when I say storyline, it could be storyline. It could be just like context that adds to why a player wins, right? So Jokic wins this year. Last year, Joel Embiid won. Well, remember, last year all the talk was Jokic is about to win his 3rd straight. Kendrick Perkins goes on ESPN and says, or I think on First Take and says, who's the last person to win 3 in a row? The only person to win 3 in a row in the last however many years. Oh, Larry Bird. What do they have in common? Hint, hint. They're saying because he's white, right? That sparked all this stuff. JJ Redick fought him back and forth. Next thing you know, Embiid wins MVP instead of Jokic. Just all of a sudden, all the stuff changes as soon as Perkins says that. Last 2 years before that, Jokic, 2021 and 2022. So this is 3 out of 4 for him. We've never seen anything like this. This big man's averaging damn near a triple-double. Blah, 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 blah. The years before that, Giannis, 2019 and 2020. Okay, you can win back-to-back MVPs. This was Giannis's ascension. They won that title in 2021, I want to say. Don't quote me on that. But they won that title in Giannis's ascension. Giannis is the next thing. All right, well, who won before? That was the storyline / context. Who won before that? James Harden. Well, James Harden had how many second-place finishes in a row, right? He had to get one. That was Harden in 2018. 2017, Russ. That was the do what I want era. Kevin Durant just left. Russ, they had to hold. Now I do what I want. Commercial Russell Westbrook. He averaged a triple-double for the 6th seed Thunder. Russ wins MVP. 2015 and 2016, Steph. That was the Warriors boom. Enough said. Unanimous MVP for Steph in 2016, but enough said. 2014, Kevin Durant had won MVP. Well, you could say a lot of his MVP stuff came from the LeBron fatigue because in 2012 and 2013, LeBron with the Heatles, best LeBron we've ever seen. Boom, boom, boom. But hey, he's won 2 in a row. That's now 4. We're having a little bit of LeBron fatigue. We've been trying to say Kevin Durant's the next up. Let's give Kevin Durant MVP in 2014. Remember, that's the talking to his mom. That's where you're the real MVP comes from, is Kevin Durant's MVP speech. So when you go look at the last however many MVPs, you're like, oh, there's always kind of some sort of storyline to it. This year, there really isn't any. The Knicks are good, but that's not a good enough storyline to give Jalen Brunson an MVP, right? Oh, here come the young Thunder. That's not really a good storyline. You know, the Thunder didn't do anything, especially because these teams we're talking about still weren't the best team in the league. If the Knicks had Boston's record, Jalen Brunson might be MVP. Or if the Thunder had Boston's record, the Shy might be MVP. But they were just good. They weren't like out of this world the way those Warriors were when Steph was getting it. See what I'm saying? So it's just like, Luka's doing what Luka does, and we know that. So is that really MVP worthy? They got hot late. Maybe he was the MVP of the last month of the season. But before that, they were, just kind of middle of the pack, trying to ebbs and flows like everybody else. That's not MVP worthy. So now you're just like, okay, well, now we're just going to go back to the status quo. Jokic is, he won his finals last year. He already got to start this season number one for MVP just for winning that finals. Remember, the biggest thing that a lot of people talked about was you got this guy about to winning two MVPs, about to win 3. He ain't even been to the finals, let alone won one, and then he went out there and did it in the playoffs. So now he got a lot of that credit. So, like I said, I'm not mad at it. Only surprise I would have had maybe was, or the only surprise I see is maybe having Tatum because of how great his team was at 4, Brunson at 5, and Giannis at 6. But not mad at it. Real quick, let's jump into what we've got as far as the playoffs. We're in the conference semifinals, so there's only 8 teams left, 4 on each side. You've got the Thunder, the 1-seed Thunder. They're playing the Mavericks. They're down 2-1. The Mavericks got a big win last night in Dallas. So 105-101. So Dallas is up 2-1. On the Thunder, interesting game coming tomorrow night. Huge. Let me continue first. The Celtics are up 2-1 on the Cavs. Cavs stole game 2. This is exactly what happened to the Celtics in the first series. Miami stole game 2. Celtics, for whatever reason, don't lose on the road. And they go out and they smack the Cavs in the mouth in Cleveland for game 3. I assume they're going to smack the Cavs in the mouth again in Cleveland for game 4. Get them out of here in game 5, 4-1. Once again, the Cavs have no real answer. They don't have anything. And Donovan Mitchell, I'll say this. There's been a lot of talk about how important this playoff run for Donovan Mitchell is in Cleveland. If Cleveland can't figure out that Donovan Mitchell is important to them, then I don't know what is. I don't think you can have 2 small guards. Now, I know I just talked about the small guards thing with Brunson. I don't think you can have 2 small guards. I think you can have 1. The problem is Mitchell's not a point guard. So, he's so small for the shooting guard position that it's hard. So you kind of hope you can get like D'Angelo Russell's 6'5", but he can't really play defense. They need a DeJounte Murray from Atlanta. Good size guard. He can play defense. He's long. He's got a long wingspan. I think a guy like DeJounte Murray would be a perfect guard combo with Donovan Mitchell. And then I also don't necessarily think that you can have, when your 2 big men are both the same type of big man, long, lanky rim protector guys. Unless Mobley, I think Evan Mobley, I was talking to Kev about this just last week. If Evan Mobley can become, I think that he needs to try to become Anthony Davis the best he can. Bulk up in the shoulders, master a mid-range game, and then once you master your mid-range game, now you can master your pump fake and put the ball down, 1 dribble to the basket game. If you can master that, go along with your defense, you need to get your scoring from, let me see what Evan Mobley, his career stats are, his seasonal stats. Because if Evan Mobley can get his stats up to about 23, so he averages 16 points a game and 9 rebounds, 3 assists. Okay? That's solid. But he's been the same player this is now his 3rd year. If he can get that up to about 22.5, 23 points per game, 11 rebounds, still do what he does on defense, you're talking about something completely different. So I think that Anthony Davis, if Anthony Davis is who he can be or try to become, then you can have Jared Allen as well, the way that the Lakers did with Davis and Dwight Howard, and then when they won in the bubble, where you can have those two long, lanky guys because Mobley's an offensive threat. I think the Cavs, but right now you've got two bigs who kind of are the same, one of which is hurt, Jared Allen, he's hurt. And then you've got two smaller guards, one who can score at an elite level and one who is really struggling in these playoffs, Darius Garland. I like Garland a lot, but I don't know if grit and grind is the kind of system Darius Garland needs to play in. I almost wonder if he would be better suited in, and they don't need him, but a team that played like Sacramento, a team that played like Indiana, that played a little bit higher pace, higher tempo, run and gun up the court, the old Denver Nuggets with George Karl as the coach. Like, I think that's a system that would be a little bit more suited to him. Play more, get him more up and down the court as opposed to playing in half court. So Celtics are up 2-1 on the Cavs. I think they're going to beat them in 5. The Timberwolves are up 2-1 on the Nuggets. Now, remember, no home team has won a game yet in this series. Minnesota won game 1, 106-99. Hell of a game from Ant. Minnesota blew the doors off of Denver in the second game. Won something. They beat them by like 27 points, 26 points, something like that. And then in the third game, Denver said, hey, we can't lose. With Minnesota being so young, and when I say young, I don't mean young. Like, they've got Rudy Gobert, he's a veteran. Cat's been in the league long enough. Conley's been in the league long enough. But young as far as, like, these guys aren't super, super playoff experienced, right? Like, they won that one game in the play-in to make the tournament. Then they lost to the Nuggets last year in the first round. I think that, so playoff young. I think that a letdown was kind of something that was expected. I think they were like, oh man, we've been blowing them out. You always, and it's funny because I heard someone, I was listening to a podcast, and I think I heard them say that a coach once said, the game in a series after you blow a team out is such a hard game to win because you're just set up for a letdown. And I think that's exactly what happened. I think the Wolves came out. Denver came out being like expected to, okay, they're letting calls go. Okay, game 2, we came out with one goal, attack Cat and make him get in foul trouble. And it seemed like that's all they wanted to do. And when they weren't calling fouls, and they just got out of their game and they said, you know what, we're just going to play and what happens, happens. I still don't like the way I'm seeing Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He seems to still be arguing at every call. And I even noticed Jamal Murray at one point in the first quarter, like, grabbed him, like, dog, come on. Like, there's no need to argue this call. Let's go. Like, I liked that they were locked in and focused. And then they blew Minnesota out by 27, 26, whatever it was, in game 3. So now both teams have the blowout. Okay, so the blowout's done, right? And now you've basically got this series as 1-0 Minnesota because take the two blowouts out, they cancel each other out. But Minnesota's up 2-1. Huge game tonight in Minnesota. Denver does not want to get down 3-1. They would love to break it 2-2. But now, just like blowing a team out sets you up for a letdown, getting blown out also sets you up for a come up. So just how basically the position that the Wolves and the Nuggets were in heading into game 3 is now reversed, where now the Nuggets need to make sure they don't let down. And the only reason why I don't think they will let down is because they're still down in the series 2-1. But Minnesota has now had the wake-up call like, okay, hey, this is still the defending champs. That's our first loss in the playoffs. Remember, they swept Phoenix. That's our first loss in the playoffs. All right, cool. Now let's wake up. I'm a huge Carolina Tar Heels fan. One of the biggest things that I used to always say was, if they win the ACC tournament before going to the NCAA tournament, they're not going to win the NCAA tournament. They need to lose one more time because when they're riding high, they won the ACC, they're the number 1 seed, and they run through the ACC tournament. They've gone a month and a half without losing, a month and a half without, having to hit some adversity. It's never good when you're going into the NCAA tournament. So I think it's the same thing there. Wolves are going to wake up. I don't know who I got. I don't know. I'm leaning Timberwolves. But if I gamble on it, I'm not picking a winner. I'm going to pick over-unders, and I'm going to pick player props because I just, no. And then lastly, you got the Knicks are up 2-1 on the Pacers. Hell of a game 3 between the two of them. And I actually thought the Knicks were going to win that. Remember, that was Thursday night. That was Friday night. I was at dinner with my mom. And I remember seeing the Knicks were up like 9 in the fourth quarter. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, they're gonna go up 3-1. Resiliency by the Pacers. I also think that the Pacers are missing something. I'm not a huge Pascal Siakam guy, personally. I know, but I understand why people like him. So I don't hate it. You know, like I don't dislike him. I'm just not a huge Pascal guy. I don't think that he necessarily has like much to his bag, but I know how valuable he is, and I've seen him, you know, when he's really hooping when they won that championship with Kawhi. So I know what he can be. Miles Turner is showing. I mean, when you have guys in the playoffs playing, like maximizing that potential that you've always seen them have, which is why Miles Turner is one always on the trading block, because there are people who see, here's what he could be. Then he's showing in the playoffs what he could be. Miles Turner's playing well. Of course, I love Tyrese Halliburton. And they're missing some guys. Remember, they started out this season hot, then they traded Buddy Hield, and Benedict Mathurin got hurt. That's two guards. Like, that's like, they're not as deep as they used to be. And they still, you know, finished out the 6 seed, stayed out of the play-in, one round one against the Bucks. But the Knicks are up 2-1, and they also play tonight as well. So, if I had to choose, I'm still leaning Nuggets over Minnesota. But I reserve the right. I'm leaning Minnesota to win this game. But just something tells me I still feel like the Nuggets might pull this out. And if the Nuggets mess around and pull this series out, you can book them to the finals. I will say that. If the Nuggets mess around and pull this series out, you can book them going to the finals, because that was a gut check moment that they had. We talked about how, in their finals run, they had never played a team over 50 wins. They're down 0-2. No, they never had adversity. This was a gut check. If you could mid-series gut check and say, hey, Nuggets haven't played great basketball all playoffs. They were down in the first half against the Lakers every single game. They got out slow. Now this is where it's like, we got to get back to Nuggets basketball. So that very well game 3 could have showed us a wake-up call, or it could have just been a letdown from Minnesota. We'll know that game by tonight. But if the Nuggets take this 2-2, and if the Nuggets come back and win this series, you can book them for the finals. Thunder and Mavericks, I think that the Mavericks, and I kind of liked their playoff matchups. I liked them against the Clippers, and I liked them against the Thunder. I think the Mavericks are going to win this series. I do think it still might go 7. Wouldn't surprise me if the Thunder win game 4. And if they don't win game 4, it wouldn't surprise me if they then won games 5 at home and 6 in Dallas, because it's not like the games are blowouts anywhere. Like I said, Celtics in 5, and I think the Knicks are going to win this probably in 6. Knicks will probably go up. It'll probably tie, probably go 2-2 back to the Garden. Knicks will probably win in the Garden, and Knicks will probably win in Indiana. I don't necessarily like the way the Knicks look down the stretch when teams force them to get the ball out of Brunson's hands. But Josh Hart, and I apologize for sniffling in the mic, but Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, the Villanova trio, they're big time, man. They're big time. But I'm going Mavs versus Nuggets right now in the conference finals, and I'm going Knicks versus Celtics in the conference finals. That's what I got. And that's all we got for today. I want to thank y'all for tuning in once again. It has been real. It has been fun. It has been real fun. Clearing the Air with Kevin Calere. I'm your host, Kevin Calere. Make sure you rate, review, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and comment. If you're looking at it on YouTube, hit the subscribe button so you can get notified when we post stuff. If you're listening on the podcast, just hit the subscribe button as well. Wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and all that other stuff out there. It is available on all platforms. Clearing the Air is still brought to you by absolutely nobody. Don't forget it. Get in while you can before you got to start seeing ads. Right now, we're ad-free. I love it. I know you love it. So let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it rolling. And last but not least, it's happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Mothers who are single mothers making it rock. I love you, mothers who are two-parent household mothers, stay-at-home mothers, anybody who's a mother, animal mothers, human being mothers, whatever mothers. I love you. We all love you. We all appreciate you guys. And we hope that you are getting all the love that you so deserve on this day. That's it for me, man. Clearing the Air with Kevin Calere. I am your host, Kevin Calere. I'm out. I'll talk to you guys soon.